point of this video is that Selena Gomez is weird, and she has been weird. I'm struggling to decide if I want to go into the history of Selena Gomez being weird or if I want to start today and work our way backwards. I think let's start today and work our way backwards. So it has been revealed, I guess, or announced that Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco are dating. Benny Blanco is a music producer. Now, when I initially saw this news, I was like, oh my gosh, good for her. Now she can stop searching her name on TikTok and leaving comments under Jelena fan videos. I'm just kidding. I don't think that that was real. I think that was just like a rumor that was on Twitter or something. Allegedly. I'm not being serious. I am always happy for people, right? I try and keep my heart and mind open. And that's where I get fucked. I am happy for people and I try to be nice to people. And it leads me to ignoring an initial ick that I might have about someone. I have had an ick about Selena Gomez since I was in elementary school. Is this a one-sided beef? Yes. Does she live in my head rent-free? Probably. But you know what? Anything that you can say about me as a Selenator, you're probably right, first of all. And second of all, though, I'm not afraid of the truth, unlike some people. In elementary school and Wizards of Waverly Place came on, I was like, cute show, cool, whatever. But something about her, there was just something about her that didn't sit right with me. I say this as a former stan of the Delena friendship, okay? Demi and Selena versus Miley and Mandy. I was always on Demi and Selena's side because, like, Miley, you have enough, okay? Nepo baby. I loved her friendship with Demi Lovato, but she also gave me an ick. Now, does that sound contradictory? Yes, but what can I say? I've contained multitudes since I came out of the womb. And then two separate things happened that made me side-eye her even more. One, she started dating Justin Bieber, which, now look, this is from the delusions of a 10, 11-year-old. I wanted Justin for myself, so I hated her, okay? It doesn't make sense, but we're, again, operating on a middle school mind. And two, she seemingly abandoned her friendship with Demi to become best friends with Taylor Swift. But Demi and Selena came up together. They were both in Barney together. They went on to the Disney Channel together. They both sang Princess Protection Program. I loved them as a unit. And I also had an irrational dislike of Taylor Swift. I enjoyed the music, but I was like, how you gonna steal my girl's friend like that? How you gonna steal my person's friend like that? Throughout all of this, the constant is that I'm a Demi Lovato stan, okay? I love them. So since I was a child, I have thought that Selena is weird. Now, what changed is that in 2018, months after she broke up with Justin Bieber for the second time, he randomly married Hailey Bieber. To those who didn't jump off the Justin train in 2013 like I did, like when he started doing that Black Sense stuff, I was like, okay, I'm out of here. This probably wasn't surprising because Justin and Hailey apparently have a history that goes back over a decade. All I knew was that he was her first love. They had a whirlwind romance. And even though I was hateful towards the love, you know, I love love. And when they got back together in 2018, I was like, oh my God, you can always have a second chance. Like, this is such a redemption story, so cute, so beautiful. They broke up. He immediately got married. I, too, would have lost it. But I would be doing worse things and being weird on the internet, okay? I would be making Machiavellian plots for destruction, but that's my own personal mental illness. That is when the Selena sympathy kicked in, and I said, no one deserves this. No one deserves to watch their first love marry the person that they told you not to worry about, okay? No one deserves to get back together with their first love after years apart and think that things are finally going to work out for once, and then break up and see them marry one of the people that was always like hanging around. So I said, you know what? I can handle Selena Gomez. I went from getting an immediate ick whenever I saw her to being like, okay, I'll accept her being in space. And then this year, it seemed as though everyone suddenly saw what I saw 5 years ago and was finally like saying it out loud. This year was the year of the Jelena revival, I guess you could say, of people being like, super hateful towards Haley and being like, oh my God, she stole Selena's man and then married him. That's so tacky. Everybody hating Haley at the beginning of the year and then loving Selena and being like, oh, what a poor little baby. This year was the year that I was like, oh, okay, everybody's seeing what I saw. But then I found out what the instigator of the situation, the tide turning was. And I was like, this is giving pride goeth before the fall, right? See, the reason that this whole scandal with Haley happened in the beginning of the year is because Selena was under videos of Haley leaving comments on TikTok. She was leaving TikTok comments, responding to people saying, basically insinuating that Haley had in fact bullied her and that the videos that Haley made with Kendall and Justine Skye were subtle digs at her. That the eyebrow thing, that's why people started to think that the eyebrow thing was a subtle dig at her, which honestly I believe, but and it was probably supposed to go on Close Friends or something, but like it's not like completely outside of the realm of possibility that Haley Bieber is, I don't want to say necessarily jealous of Selena Gomez, but that she thinks about her, right? Because she is the person who dated her husband before. She is famously his first love. She's the one who she used to ship with her current husband. So that probably a mind fuck in a way, So I don't think that Haley Bieber never thinks about Selena Gomez. And I don't think that those things that she did are automatically not or are about Selena. I think the important thing to point out here is that whole beginning of the year redemption arc that Selena got in the like Justin, Haley, Selena triangle was instigated by her leaving comments under people's videos. I don't think these people had tagged her, so like it would have had to have come up on her For You page, or she would have had to have searched her own name to find these videos. Now, again, I'm not attaching any kind of like sinister motives behind that. I don't think she's a mastermind. I don't think she's like twiddling her thumbs and twirling her mustache. I think she's just a girl who gets on the internet and says things out loud that people of her level of fame don't normally say out loud, right? And some of them are rooted in fact and some of them are rooted in delusion. It's okay to recognize that. The girl has been weird. She has a more recent track record of being up under comments on TikToks and seemingly confirming narratives that fans are putting forward. So it wasn't entirely surprising when a couple days ago, people who were dogging out her relationship with Benny Blanco received replies directly from her. We know that she either searches her name or stuff about her comes up in her algorithm, and she's not afraid to A, read the comments, and B, respond to the comments. The weird comes in when people started adding her, or not even adding her, but just talking under the post and saying, I can't believe she has all this energy to give, complaining about people calling her man ugly when she has none of that energy to give for Palestine. It's one thing to say that. It's another thing to have the person who you're saying that about comment under it and be like, okay, or you're right. So that tells me two things. You see all the people asking you to talk about this. You saw people's responses to your quote unquote internet break, and none of that made you look into the situation anymore, become retrospective, think about it from a perspective outside of the one that's been fed to you this entire time. Instead, you just don't care. And for someone who seems to has built a platform not just off of their talent, but also off of their supposed mental health advocacy, you'd wonder, like what is worse for mental health than watching a bunch of people who look like you get slaughtered? Or worrying about whether or not your family is going to survive, or seeing people talk about how everyone of your racial and or ethnic and or religious group is automatically a terrorist. Those things don't seem to really be good for mental health. And yet, Miss Gomez isn't thinking about the mental health of the people involved. She's thinking about her own mental health and how hard it is for her to look at the images of their oppression. Selena Gomez has been weird. That is the refrain of this video, if it is anything. Me, someone who has a memory longer than 6 months ago, 8 months ago, 5 years ago, I remember being on the internet in the midst of my Selena Gomez gives me the ick phase and seeing her basically tell people who asked her to speak up about Black Lives Matter that they don't know her and they don't know what she cares about, and they're making it about choosing sides, which is honestly a common Republican dog whistle about Black Lives Matter. What side is there to choose? When somebody says Black Lives Matter and you automatically think sides, that's because you are racist. If you automatically think, well, what about me in my life? Don't I matter? That's because you are anti-Black, whether it's conscious or subconscious. After 2020, Selena became one of the loudest, proudest Black Lives Matter. She has Black Lives Matter highlights up on her Instagram right now. She talked about reading about it and hearing about it and thinking about it and making all these decisions and changing her mind. But I would argue that she was only able to do that because Black Lives Matter was essentially politically neutered in 2020. Something that is an inherently political movement in a country that is founded and thrives upon the dehumanization of Black people was turned into almost a catchphrase or a litmus test for people to figure out whether or not someone was racist. People who I think would never fix their mouths to say the words Black Lives Matter after 2020 were like, well, of course they do, because what happened in 2020 with George Floyd was so egregiously evil that it's almost like, well, if you disagree, then you're insane. Or if you disagree, then you must be super extra racist. So it almost became the baseline for what an evolved person would think about race and racism. Back to Selena Gomez. So her saying Black Lives Matter almost means nothing by 2020 because it's no longer a political statement. It is the baseline opinion. And in order for it to become the baseline opinion, it essentially has to be defanged of any meaning so that it becomes an empty slogan and not something that signifies that the person saying it believes that the police need to be defunded, that Palestine should be free, that we need to restructure society in a way that is not inherently oppressive to Black people. It becomes, well, Black Lives Matter can coexist with all of these oppressive structures that it was meant to fight against. Her silence on Palestine is not surprising because she has a track record of looking at social or political issues that don't affect her personally and saying, oh, I don't care about that, or oh, this is about picking sides, or oh, this is so reductive, instead of thinking about the real human cost. Now, you would think that after 2020, she would be looking at any type of system, any type of situation that involves systematic oppression and saying, well, remember the last time you reduced this to being a situation of picking sides? What if instead this time you actually listen and try and look at it from the perspective of the oppressed person? She's not going to do that because these are not morals that she has. This is basically a posture that she can take whenever something makes her feel bad enough. For some reason, I think probably because it's not happening in the United States, but also because she is likely a Zionist. When it comes to Palestine, she's not able to take that step back and think about the human people who are actually being affected by this oppression. Can I confirm that Selena Gomez is a Zionist? No. Do I believe her to be one? Yes, because the way that she's behaving, it's almost as if the suffering on the part of the Palestinian people doesn't matter as much as the country of Israel's quote unquote right to defend itself. We left right to defend yourself in October and now it's December and they're still doing everything that they were doing before. So it's not about defense, it's about extermination. I think something about Selena is that she has this persona of being such an empathetic and caring person. She always, like I said earlier, is talking about mental health care and mental health advocacy, and she's been very vocal about her own struggles with mental health. But what this approach is lacking, and I think, as I mentioned in my Ariana Grande video, I think it's in part because she grew up in such a dehumanizing environment as Hollywood as a young girl. What's lacking is true empathy. What's lacking is the ability to look at any people in the world who are being oppressed and identify with them as opposed to identifying with the oppressors. She's looking at mental health even from this kind of like removed abstract view, right? The Rare Impact Foundation for supporting mental health. Well, we know that the main things that help improve people's mental health are access to food, water, shelter, and money. Like people's money can't buy happiness, but under a certain net worth or under a certain like yearly income, there's only so much mental health care you can do because the mental health issues that you're dealing with are because you can't take care of yourself, basically. She's not attacking mental health issues from a structural position. She's attacking it from a very individual level. Each individual person has a mental health problem, and we can fix that by focusing on them as opposed to talking about what we need to change about our society to help people's mental health. And even with like the Instagram comment situation, she's going off on people who are offending her people or being mean to people that she cares about. It's all very like, how dare you do this to someone that I love, not how dare you do this to someone, period. And I think the other thing about it that's weird is like almost like clockwork. Every time she does this, there's a pop walk with Taylor Swift. Every time she has blown up in somebody's Instagram comments. Well, I don't want to say every time, but like the past 2 times that she has appeared with Taylor within 24 hours. So when she said that like weird thing about how she needed to take a social media break because it was just so hurtful to her to see other people be hurt, the next day she's out with Taylor and Gigi. And Gigi is Palestinian and has been very outspoken about what is going on in Palestine right now. And her appearing with Selena was almost a tacit approval from the Palestinian woman. Well, this Palestinian woman is willing to hang out with Selena, so she must not be that bad, right? This time around, Gigi is nowhere in sight. I'm not going to speculate on that because I have no idea, but I do think she is well within her right to tell her to fuck off, because how dare you respond to somebody's comment about my people being oppressed and just go, yeah, I don't care. She has to be put next to these people who everyone loves, Taylor namely, because everyone is loving Taylor right now, in order to save her reputation. I think she's moving very weird right now, and she's on a precipice of being like massively disliked, almost like Haley was earlier this year, or like Taylor was in 2017. And I think if she tips over the edge, she's going to take Taylor down with her. People have not been happy about Taylor's silence on Palestine, and the silence gets even louder when she's standing next to Selena, who hasn't she's been like one of those people who's like, I move in silence. You're saying that out loud, so you're not moving in silence. Okay. Like she's like, you don't know what I care about. You don't know what I believe in. I hate when anybody and seeing babies and children, and I just have such big feelings, and I'm just like, she's been very vocal about refusing to be vocal or in support of Palestine. Then she goes out with Taylor. And yes, people love Taylor right now, but people are also asking Taylor to use her massive platform to say something about this war that's going on. And I think Taylor's PR team, I think Selena's silence is coming from a place of she actually doesn't give a fuck and she just is a Zionist. I think Taylor's silence I think she probably does have a stance. I think she's just not saying it because her PR team is operating in a world that doesn't exist anymore. Everything, and this is going to get bleak for a second, but I saw this on Twitter and I can't stop thinking about it. Everything as humans has been taken away from us. Everything that we could potentially identify with and care about has been taken away from us. Communities mean almost nothing. It's difficult for people to create and foster real connection with other humans in real life. We can't go outside because there's a pandemic still happening that nobody wants to admit. And every time you go outside, you put yourself at risk. Like, the world is not good right now. And neoliberalism has reduced all of us to people who are identified primarily through what we like. And so, in order for us to feel good about ourselves, we have to feel like the things that we like are virtuous. Taylor's having a huge upswing right now. But it's definitely being helped by her 2019 political era. If people still had questions about where she stood politically, I don't think that they would be as willing to forgive her trespasses from 2017. And I also don't think that she would be on like every news outlet all day, every day. I do think she lost a couple or a few fans during that era who were more conservative, but I think that like existing as a conservative today means that you have to have so much cognitive dissonance about the things and the people that you enjoy. You have to at once accept that the actor in that TV show that you really like is probably a liberal, while also not like only watching TV shows that are made by like Pure Flix or whatever. You know, like you have to be, if you're going to enjoy any kind of media, you have to be willing to enjoy media by people who don't agree with you politically. And I think liberals are very entitled in the sense that whenever they find out that somebody they like doesn't agree with them politically, it's like this huge thing. Because so many people in the entertainment industry are vocally liberal, liberals often expect that everyone that they like will be liberal. Whereas not a lot of people are vocally conservative. And if they are vocally conservative, they're kind of like, ooh, ooh. I think the majority of Taylor's base wants to know that she is standing on the right side of history. I think they're overestimating how many people out there are Zionists and supporters of Israel, and they're underestimating how many people see the atrocities that are going on in Palestine and want the people that they follow and the people whose media they consume to speak out against it. So I feel like her PR team is, if there is a huge Taylor Swift fall from grace soon, which there could be, because anytime we reach peak Taylor Swift, people really just want to like get her out of there. You know, that's what happened in 2016. We were at peak Taylor Swift. She was everywhere. She was always like taking pictures and walking red carpets and like doing everything. People were waiting for something to hate her for. So we've reached peak Taylor Swift in 2023. And if there is a fall, I think it's going to be because of Palestine. Now, this is bleak, but the best thing her PR team can do to set her apart from Selena, because really her stepping out with Selena so soon after she has these controversies about her, like, it isn't even silence at this point, it's just like her glib attitude towards what is happening to Palestinian people, is people look at Taylor with her now and say, oh, Taylor must think the same thing. So if Taylor calls for a ceasefire, if Taylor says something, then people will know, oh no, that's just her friend, right? Does any of this matter in the grand scheme of things? I mean, like, no, probably. But I do think that the world's biggest pop star right now saying something about a ceasefire, I mean, it's probably not going to do anything functionally, because I think Jesus Christ himself could come down from the sky, and unless he said that he would give everyone involved $10 trillion to make up for the money that might be lost if the Ben Gurion Canal is not built, then there wouldn't be a ceasefire. Nothing. I don't think anything anyone says is going to make that happen until the land is cleared and destroyed and Israel wins, basically. But it does signal to her fans that she has morals and a stance. I think there's also a reason that she's not coming out in vocal support of Israel right now. You know, I don't think it would do well for her optically. And I have to believe that she doesn't believe that she's not on Israel's side if Gigi Hadid is one of her best friends. But so while I was editing this video, I saw that actually before I filmed this, I just didn't know it when I had filmed, Rare Beauty, Selena Gomez's makeup company, had released a statement decrying, or basically talking about the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, quote unquote. Now, I'm not going to read the entire statement to you because it's quite long, but I will put it up on the screen so that you can pause and read it if you would like. I and a lot of other people on the internet have taken issue with this statement and find it to be both intellectually and factually dishonest. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about why I feel that way. So when the main card of the statement is humanitarian crisis in Gaza, we expect the statement to be addressing primarily and honestly solely the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and what is being done to the Palestinian people. Instead, what we got was a kind of milquetoast denunciation of all forms of violence and hate. The issue is that the headlines are Rare Beauty is making donations to Palestine, but the truth is that Rare Beauty is making donations to Palestine and Israel. I want to be very clear that any loss of life, particularly that of children, is horrific and should not happen. But when you're saying that many children have died on the Palestinian side, but many of the people who on the Israeli side on October 7th were also children. It's actually not the truth. If you look at the numbers, 36 Israeli children were tragically on October 7th. That is about 5% of the people. And I even feel horrible reducing these lives lost to numbers, but we have to get down to brass tacks here. Since October 7th, an estimated 5,500 Palestinian children have. That's almost 47% of all the people who have in this quote unquote war. Saying that many children have died on both sides is simply not the truth, and it's intellectually dishonest to act as if it is. And it's especially bad when you're using those percentages and this loss of life as a justification for donating to both sides of this conflict. Well, both sides have lost children, so both sides deserve our help. Again, we have to talk about magnitude. We have to look at things within the context of how they actually happen and not just say, well, children die on both sides, so both sides need help from outside. The Israeli government has the entire force of the Western world beside them and the tacit approval of the United States government to essentially level the entire Gaza Strip and turn it into a parking lot. There's no Palestinian Authority, regardless of if it is considered a terrorist organization by several Western nations or not, that has that kind of support, that level of support, and that power to do that kind of damage to the Israeli government, the Israeli nation, and the Israeli people. And so to say that you will be donating to both sides of this conflict because both sides need your help is not the truth. It just isn't. And I'm not the only person who's noticed this. A lot of people have essentially called Rare Beauty out for claiming to be donating to Palestinian relief when they're also donating to an Israeli government sanctioned organization. So, donating to International Red Cross and Red Crescent, which are humanitarian organizations, is one thing. This is an organization that is working to support civilians who are being wrongfully lumped in with enemy combatants and collectively punished alongside of them by a state government. The issue is that Rare Beauty is also donating to the state government that is wrongfully lumping civilians in with enemy combatants and collectively punishing all of them. You're giving money to an organization that is aimed at helping Palestinian people, but then you're also giving money to the people who are hurting Palestinian people. So it's kind of like a wash. At the end of the day, you're not really doing anything. 1 plus -1 is 0. The point of this video is that Selena Gomez is weird, and she has been weird. And her little renaissance at the beginning of this year, where people were like, oh my god, Selena's the victim, Hailey's so weird, it was always going to end because the internet is very fickle. And Hailey Bieber, for the past 4 months at the very least, she had her moment of being the most hated girl online at the beginning of the year, but for the past 4 months she has been running the trends. I see a Hailey Bieber renaissance on the horizon. I see a Selena Gomez downfall on the horizon. And I think if Selena Gomez has her downfall, unless Taylor says something about where she stands on Palestine, Selena's going to take her with her. And it's going to be really sad if the second half of the Eras tour is everyone being like, I fucking hate Taylor Swift, because everyone spent the beginning of this year being like, oh my god, I love Taylor Swift. That's all I have to say about that. I'm going to stop talking right now because I'm really hungry and I need to go scrounge around for food like a little rat. Thanks for watching. Bye.